Responsibility and mindset are two closely related concepts that play a crucial role in shaping our lives and determining our success. The way we approach responsibility and the mindset we adopt can have a profound impact on our experiences and outcomes. Today we are going to discuss responsibility, which I think gets a bad rap. And we are going to use three different options to interpret responsibility. We're going to talk about A Course in Miracles, Reality Transurfing, and The Levels of Consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins. Imagine this. You are on a beautiful beach at sunset. As the sun drifts off on the horizon, the sky is full of bright colors that seem to last an eternity. The smell of the salt of the ocean lofts in the fresh air, and the sounds of seagulls finding their way home for the night are rebounding off the sounds of the ocean waves. Now, picture this. Take full responsibility for the entire experience. Why? Because you are responsible for it. This is a responsibility mindset. However, this is easier said than done. Let's discuss. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kathy Owen. I have been a certified fitness trainer and certified life coach since 2002. On this channel, we talk about healthy habits, having a growth mindset, fitness, and even some reality transurfing. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to give this video a like, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you don't miss content from me. Let's get into the episode. The first step we are going to take today is to define the word responsibility in two different ways. The actual definition in Webster's dictionary and the spiritual or biblical definition. Why? Because they are different, and soon you will understand why responsibility gets a bad rap, as I always say. The definition of responsibility as defined in Webster Dictionary is the quality or state of being responsible, such as a moral, legal, or mental accountability. Reliability, trustworthiness, something for which one is responsible. Burden. Oh my goodness, ouch. That is why I say responsibility gets a bad rap. I mean, good grief. Burden just sounds awful, doesn't it? And moral, legal, or mental accountability, even some synonyms for responsibility include blame, fault, accountability, commitment, and duty. Just more ouch. So let's look at a spiritual or biblical sense. The definition is quite different. It simply means to change one's mind. In biblical usage, it implies changing one's mind in relation to God and His way of life. And that's what we are discussing today. Changing your mind implies changing one's mind in relation to the universe, God, infinite intelligence, etc. Responsibility and mindset are two closely related concepts that play a crucial role in shaping our lives and determining our success. The way we approach responsibility and the mindset we adopt can have a profound impact on our experiences and outcomes. Honestly, you will find that learning responsibility, you become a lifelong learner with this valuable mindset. Today we're going to discuss responsibility, which honestly, as I always say, I think it gets a bad rap. And we're going to use three different options to interpret responsibility. We're going to use A Course in Miracles. We're going to use Reality Transurfing. And then we're going to use The Levels of Consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins. To download a copy of the mind map that goes with today's episode and several other mind map episodes, please go over to kathyowen.com/mindmap. Link will be in the show notes and description below. Taking responsibility for our lives involves recognizing that we are in control of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. Every experience we have is a result of the choices we make. It requires us to be proactive, to take initiative, and focus on our goals. By taking responsibility for our lives, we can develop a growth mindset and cultivate an authentic, positive outlook that will help us overcome challenges and achieve success. This positive mindset can become one of the most powerful habits of your life. So let's look at A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is actually a spiritual text, and it explores the idea of personal responsibility in our lives and the role it plays in achieving a state of inner peace and happiness. A Course in Miracles encourages us to take full responsibility for our thoughts, feelings, and actions, and to recognize that every experience we have is a result of the choices we make. To me, A Course in Miracles explains the benefits of ownership mindset when it comes to responsibility. And this is exactly what A Course in Miracles says about responsibility. Say only this, but mean it with no reservations, for here the power of salvation lies. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And for everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. You know, one teacher put it really easily and simply, because that's from the book A Course in Miracles, or the Course in Miracles actually. But she said it like this. She goes, I'm responsible for what I see, and everything is as I wish it would be. And according to A Course in Miracles, the only way to achieve true inner peace and happiness is by taking full responsibility for our lives. This means recognizing that we are the source of all our experiences, good or bad, and that everything that happens to us is a result of the choices we make. By taking responsibility for our lives, we can transform negative experiences into positive ones and create a more fulfilling life for ourselves. The text teaches that our thoughts and beliefs create our reality, and that we are responsible for the way we perceive the world around us. This means that we have the power to change our lives by changing our thoughts and beliefs. When we are faced with a difficult situation, rather than blaming others or external circumstances, A Course in Miracles encourages us to look within ourselves and take responsibility for the role we have played in creating the experience. I know, this is easier said than done, but listen on, because so much of that difficulty lies in the feelings of guilt and shame, and we are going to discuss those two feelings in detail shortly. When it comes to discussing responsibility in all three texts, we need to discuss the idea of guilt. And we will discuss guilt a bit today, as it is an obstacle to personal responsibility and inner peace. And A Course in Miracles teaches us that guilt is a form of self-punishment, and that it prevents us from taking responsibility for our lives. When we feel guilty, we become trapped in a cycle of self-blame and self-doubt, and we are unable to move forward and make positive changes in our lives. To overcome feelings of guilt, A Course in Miracles encourages us to practice forgiveness. This means letting go of any negative feelings we may have toward ourselves or others. It also means that we recognize that everyone is doing the best they can with the information and understanding that they have at the time. By practicing forgiveness, we can free ourselves from the burdens of guilt and take full responsibility for our lives. You will find that radical responsibility enables you to stop the blame of others for everything that happens in your life. I call this basically the second step of responsibility. You know, I practiced A Course in Miracles, which is a 365-day lesson plan, for a little over a year in 2018. And synchronistically so, on the very last day of the lesson plan, for me, I found myself in a brand new, beautiful home after struggling over the loss of a home that was stolen from me. I know, it sounds crazy, but I did an episode on that and wrote an article about what happened to me on that. But I forgave everyone involved, including, and I must say, especially myself. And I found myself in a beautiful, safe home and living environment. And I highly recommend instilling the lesson plan into your morning routine and watching your life transform in magic fashion. What I did was I signed up for the daily email, and I would get the email in my inbox. And like I said, it took me a little over a year to do every single lesson. But what happened was I had things I got caught up in. That 2018 was a very crazy year for me. But I would put the lessons on hold and pick them back up on my morning routine. I'd read them each day because you're supposed to contemplate whatever the lesson is about. It's super simple, super easy, and super life-changing. And that's just how I studied the course. But I do have the book, A Course in Miracles, as well as I refer to it often when I'm going through something, or I just open it up and there's the lesson. And that also happens with the book Reality Transurfing, which is what we're going to talk about next. Reality Transurfing is a book written by Russian quantum physicist Vadim Zeland. He explores the nature of reality and how it can be transformed. According to Reality Transurfing, guilt is a limiting belief that holds us back from realizing our full potential and achieving our goals. Reality Transurfing teaches us that the way to let go of that guilt is through radical responsibility. I mean, radical responsibility. Again, stop blaming others, forgive them, and forgive yourself, and find a wonderful reality. That's what Reality Transurfing teaches. In Reality Transurfing, guilt is seen as a negative emotion that arises from the belief that we have caused harm to others or violated some moral or ethical code. This belief creates feelings of shame and remorse, which can prevent us from taking action and pursuing our goals. The Reality Transurfing perspective on guilt is that it is a subjective experience that is created, like I said, by our beliefs and our attitudes. It is not an objective reality, but rather a projection of our thoughts and our emotions onto the world. And projection is just a fancy way of adding our blame onto others. This is a fixed mindset that will not serve you. According to Reality Transurfing, we can overcome guilt by shifting our focus away from the negative beliefs and emotions toward our goals and desires, by taking responsibility for our thoughts and actions, and by letting go of our attachment to guilt. Yes, I said attachment to guilt. And we can free ourselves from its limiting influence and create a more fulfilling life. I say guilt is a victim mindset, and I talk about the victimizer cycle all the time, and I will have a link in the show notes and description to the articles that I have written about victimizer cycle. But Reality Transurfing simply views guilt as a limiting belief that holds us back from realizing our full potential and achieving our goals. By taking responsibility for our thoughts and actions, and by letting go of our attachment to guilt, we can overcome its negative effects and create a more fulfilling life. I know it sounds funny saying letting go of our attachment to guilt, but that is exactly what that is. Guilt has become a comfort zone for us. Oddly enough, I know it sounds weird. And a responsible mindset does not attach to anything. It takes a sense of ownership and moves on. You know, kind of like the ownership of that sunset that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. So one of my favorite teachers is Dr. David Hawkins. He wrote the book Power versus Force. And we're going to discuss what he says about responsibility as well. Dr. David Hawkins was an American psychiatrist, physician, and spiritual teacher who wrote extensively about the concept of personal responsibility. In his work, he emphasized the importance of taking responsibility for our lives and the role it plays in achieving a higher state of consciousness. I talk about the book Power versus Force often and the power it has on your life, and that pun is intended. According to Dr. David Hawkins, the key to personal growth and spiritual development is to take full responsibility for our lives and to recognize that every experience we have is a result of the choices we make. He believed that by taking responsibility for our thoughts, feelings, and actions, we can overcome negative patterns and tendencies and achieve a greater sense of inner peace and happiness. Here we are again, talking about taking control of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. It is a very common thread here. Do you see that? And Dr. David Hawkins also spoke about the idea of power versus force, which refers to the distinction between using our power to create positive change in the world or using force to control and manipulate others. He taught us that taking responsibility for our lives and using our power in a positive way is essential to our spiritual growth and the evolution of human consciousness. Dr. Hawkins emphasized the importance of forgiveness in taking responsibility for our lives. He teaches us that by forgiving ourselves and others, we can release negative emotions and patterns and move forward in a positive direction. Forgiveness is essential. Like I said in my book, The Truth Bubbles Up, you are not a victim of your circumstances. And when you see that, you see responsibility in a brand new way. Dr. David Hawkins also saw personal responsibility as a crucial aspect of spiritual growth and development. He encouraged individuals to take full responsibility for their thoughts, their feelings, and actions, and to recognize the power they have to create positive change in their lives and the world. By taking responsibility and practicing forgiveness, Dr. Hawkins taught us that we can achieve a greater sense of inner peace and happiness. When it comes to guilt and shame, Hawkins says these are two distinct emotions that are related but not interchangeable. Like I said, we were going to talk about guilt and shame. Here is where it is. Guilt is a feeling that arises when we believe we have done something wrong or violated a moral or ethical code. Shame, on the other hand, is a feeling of worthlessness or self-rejection that arrives from a belief that we are inherently flawed or deficient. It is important to note that shame is on the force levels of consciousness, and I think it's safe to say that guilt is too. Dr. David Hawkins believed that guilt and shame are powerful negative emotions that can prevent us from achieving our full potential and experiencing inner peace and happiness. He encouraged individuals to take responsibility for, again, we're going to say this, our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, and to understand the root cause of guilt and shame. So I think it's safe to say that all three texts stress the importance of forgiveness and taking responsibility for our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. And they are the keys to having success and authentic happiness in our lives. I realize this may sound like common sense, but I have to tell you from experience that it is easier said than done, and it will take practice and time. Be kind to yourself and maintain a positive attitude, because responsibility can be a big factor in changing your life in a positive way. In a spiritual sense, remember, it is all about changing your mind, as stated in the biblical definition. Changing your mind can be as simple as looking at so-called bad things in an innovative ways. Take an ownership mentality, and I can promise you that one thing will become a valuable asset. A simple realization that you are responsible for what you see and everything is as you think it should be is a powerful realization from A Course in Miracles. It is important to keep a growth mindset and not shame yourself. Remember, shame is on the levels of force. Forgive yourself and others, and you will find responsibility coming with ease, or as David Hawkins says, in power instead of force. All right, thank you for spending part of your day with me. I trust that you found this helpful. If you know someone who can benefit from this, please share it with them, and be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time. Peace out and namaste.